I think no, it's got to. It can't be as chirpy. It can't be as chirpy.
Oh no,
We've got to be.
can it?
We've got to be like.
I think it. You know, when something is solemn, it normally starts with some kind of chorister, a single voice singing, and it looks like we have that. So, can you sing something?
Okay, so we've got to record something that's sad that doesn't seem like we're taking the piss that it's sad, which is almost impossible with this face.
It is
like with this voice.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. But we're not actually taking the piss. That's the thing. We're not actually taking the piss. This is genuinely sad.
Yeah. Well, let's just say we've started.
Okay, let's do it. We've started.
Do badders. Welcome to Bad Boy Running. It for us, it is the morning after, sadly, the Queen passed away, which is it's quite weird. Really, actually, I'm finding it really weird.
I find it weird as well.
Because I loved the Queen. My wife came home drunk last night and she loved the Queen, I think probably more than Prince Philip. And she kept on explaining to me just how important the Queen was and how everything is at the worst time and everything's going to go to shit. And I was like, yeah, I know you love the Queen. Yeah, she's like, but no, Davy. So
is that what she calls you? What she calls you when she's a bit drunk, Davy?
She seemed to last night. I think it's normally more expletive, but it's really strange because no one really knows what to do, and particularly because we're now a brand. You know, Caffeine Bullet have got all these marketing plans, and then we've got the races. But even going to bed last night, because Briggsy passed out on the couch and I couldn't convince her to come to bed, so I was like, I'll go by myself. I just wanted to listen to
a commemoration than that, is there? Celebrating the life of our longest reigning monarch and passing out on the bed because you've drunk in her honour.
She really was, actually. She genuinely was drinking through being upset. But then all I wanted to do was to listen to some kind of chill out music. And Alexa wouldn't let me. Alexa would only let me hear Radio 5 Live. So if I said, I'd normally listen to Radio 1, Radio 2, but it would only let me hear news about the Queen, and similar, I've gone to watch some of the Diamond League today and it wasn't on because they seem to just stop all BBC stuff, which it's strange because I get that you want to show deference and you want. This is a really big moment for the nation. Like genuinely, we can look back on this in 30 years and the state of our parliament system, everything like that could come down to the yesterday. But then at the same point, you can't just have 10 hours of hearing about the Queen on every channel.
It's when
people need to.
It's the London Bridge protocols, isn't it? It's the thing that they've been preparing for such a long time as to exactly what happens, and then they're all following it, and obviously they kind of knew for a while before it was announced, and so I remember when. Do you remember when Diana passed away like that? To me, we were teenagers, but it felt like that everything was like blanket stopped. Like football matches were stopped. You just couldn't watch anything. There was nothing. I think most programming was stopped, which at the time probably didn't feel so bad, but now when we live in a kind of a world where you can do whatever you want and watch whatever you want whenever you want,
there's a million channels,
there's a million, and all of a sudden someone's restricting you from doing it because of something that's out of your control. I mean that's the point, isn't it? That's the point. It's supposed to make you feel that this is important, but it feels really weird having that kind of restriction on it as well, and I think they've cancelled so much stuff, haven't they, already? I think like all the horse racing and probably most of the football will be cancelled or something else.
Which there's elements you think, yeah, absolutely fair enough. And with the Diana thing, it almost was. It felt as if, well, it was more of a moment of, wait, what's happened? I want information on this. I don't understand. Wait,
Yes, it was a shock,
how
wasn't it?
did?
Yes.
And so, in some ways, there were more updates of like, we found this out, we found that out, we found that out. Whereas this is heavily expected, and you're like,
Well, it
yeah,
isn't. Isn't it? Like that's the thing. It kind of, when you have someone who's been around that long, and she's just been there, it kind of is expected because of her age and everything else. But you still kind of don't expect it when it comes. Like yeah. The timing it seems to be very. I don't know. It kind of felt unexpected, weirdly. I mean, I know, like, that it does feel expected because of her age, but yeah, there's still something about it, like, it's like, oh, this is about to happen. Like, we know it's going to happen, but we're kind of not ready for
don't
it.
talk about it. Because I've been fascinated. I'd been listening to Radio 1 this morning with Greg James, and
it's very muted, isn't it? Radio 1 as it is at the moment is very weird. Like, because I hate Radio 1 because it's just too over the top in the morning, and I just like it when it. I remember when Chris Evans didn't turn up that day. Remember that when Chris Evans didn't turn up, and I think it was Scott Mills who took over, and Scott Mills didn't have anything prepared, and all he did is just said, "Oh." And then you just played song after song, and that was the best day Radio 1 has ever been. It's like that today. It's like that today. But all the song choices are also very kind of muted as well, aren't they?
Yeah, it's very chill out. But then Greg's having to, because I do like Greg. I think he seems like a good lad. Quite fun, and he's acting as if the nation is in genuine, like, devastated mourning, and he's saying, look, I know we can get through. He's doing all these kind of, we can get through this, and if you're not sure how you're feeling or how you're going to cope, but I just don't think Radio 1 listeners are that devastated.
I know.
Maybe I've got this wrong.
I think no, I do. I think I do think it is that weird thing of Radio 1 being this thing that is, it's for years it has tried to be so kind of down with the kids, and it succeeds. It really does succeed in doing that. But then when this thing happens, it like goes back to being the BBC, and so it has to have this like state messaging that it has to follow. The same thing on Radio 4 is on Radio 1 and things like that. And so I completely agree. I don't necessarily think they care. I just think with that audience, it's probably not a bigger part of their life as. I imagine a lot of them are very confused as to what's going on at the moment.
Or they think, this is something that's sad, but then lots of things that happen are sad, and I want to continue my normal day.
Yeah, but the way it's happening is very similar to the way the pandemic. Like on the pandemic, Radio 1 was very good because people were genuinely anxious and things like that, and it did this very good thing about being very sort of community based and saying, and having that kind of thing. If you're sad, if you are feeling lonely, if you're feeling all these things, come and speak to us, and then they have people on the time, and it was really supporting that way. And it's kind of been like that again, but like you say, I'm not 100% sure how much that audience really connects to it. But then maybe they do. That's the thing. I don't know. I don't know what the kids think.
Yeah, but just even based on my own emotions, I think it is sad. But then I've lost my mum recently. I've lost all my grandparents in the past. It's not for me anywhere near as sad as that. And actually, it's fine. She's 96, and she had a great life. She, absolutely want to respect her. But the next 10 days, the next 2 weeks will be interesting because, for example, we were recording a podcast last night, and you couldn't.
I couldn't, no. Because of course, as soon as it kind of breaks, we have to, all of my like marketing clients and Libby's as well. Libby's got like big, brands and stuff that she works with, you have to put something out, or you have to stop activity going out. That's
Do you have to put something out? Because I haven't put something out.
No, well, you haven't put, but some of the bigger brands have to, but that's mainly because other people are putting them out as well. So they're not doing. I think a lot of them are doing it not because they necessarily want to do it, but they kind of have to do it because if they don't do it, they're not seen to be doing it as well. But most of my clients, like they wanted to do something as well. So what we had to do is then tell them like what's going to happen over the next 10 days, because of course, with the protocols and everything, it's going to be 10 days till the funeral. The funeral's likely going to be next week, not this weekend, next weekend. And so, what exactly that means. And so it's about like if we have campaigns running and marketing running and things like that, like what do we do? What is acceptable? What isn't acceptable? How do people respond?
Because we've got a big campaign coming up.
Exactly. So if you start
tomorrow, even.
Yeah. So if you start marketing like quite aggressively, or some of the stuff is off base, then people will complain and people will do those things. And also, it's very. A lot of people need guidance, like how to handle marketing, how to do sales, how to do all that kind of stuff during this period. And so, it was just a case of being up till like midnight, just like, sorry, right, we definitely need to, not run with these things. We need to, put these messages out. We need to use these, desperately trying to tell clients, please don't use, images off the internet of the Queen and stuff like that because of copyright infringement. And they're like, and then everyone's using them everywhere. And I'm just like, I don't. It's a bit of a funny territory because no one really knows what to do, even though it's been coming up.
Because that's the thing. I was asked by my team, like, should we post something? So they asked me last night, and I just said no. Like, I don't. We're a caffeine brand. Like
I have already seen some bad stuff. I have seen people having a picture of the Queen with their logo on, with their website address on, all kinds of stuff, and posting those and going, and it's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But I do think it depends on your audience. I think if your audience see you're a caffeine brand, they're like, do you know what? I'm not sure I need to know what this caffeine brand's view is on the Queen.
I mean, everyone, who's going to say it's anything but sad? And how, I just don't understand how it helps our audience. You've been on Twitter. Oh, it's true, actually. Yeah, good point. But I just don't understand how it helps our audience for us to go, we liked the Queen as well. It's sad, right? Because then actually people aren't going on Instagram or Facebook to just see pictures of the Queen all day. People want to get in a bit of an escape, right? But it just feels exploitative as well. And if you're sad about something, you don't publish it on social media. Well, maybe that's just why I'm different. I wouldn't as a person be sharing sad stuff on social media because it's a personal. I guess I don't see social media as personal, particularly not as a brand.
Exactly. As a brand, I think it is. Like you wouldn't expect anything on the Bad Boy Running Instagram about it, would you? Like we're not going to post anything about it, are we? Like,
mainly because whatever we do,
that would be weird. That would be really weird, wouldn't it, if we posted something or out just completely out of the blue that.
If we posted anything
on Instagram, you're on
Instagram's good. I think it's Facebook. True. Instagram's good. Maria's killing it. No, fair enough. And Anya. So, and out of interest, because we've got a flash sale coming up tomorrow. Whoa, I'm excited.
Have you?
And so, but I don't see, and the team have said like, should we continue with it? And I don't have a problem with doing a flash sale because we're not celebrating anything. We're not like being like, hey, things are so happy. It's just like, here's a flash sale. We're getting on with our lives. Like, is that a commercial risk, would you say?
I think it totally depends on your audience because like I say, you're a caffeine brand. Like, I mean, how big a part? I mean, this is going to sound really awful. How big a part of their life and their thinking are you really? You're there because you're
Yeah,
helping them with PBs, and you're helping them with a bit of training, and they're still
yeah,
going to want to run. They're still going to want to do training. They're still, I don't think all certain activity is disrespectful. If, for example, though, you are a and this tends to be like a lot of our clients, if you're a coach, or if you're you work with people and you do training, and you're very kind of face to face, and your personal brand is kind of really tied to your other brand. I think that's probably a little bit more insensitive as well, because you are trying to demonstrate that you have empathy and leadership and all of those things, while also trying to sell them during this period. But I think those are kind of two completely different situations. I think it's really
yeah.
contextual as well. I suppose it's how people think about you as a brand. Like, if we I think if we did something kind of out there as BBR during this period, I think people within the community would see that as crass, because we're obviously going to be very aware of it. But look, if if you're a brand of anything, and it's very specific as to how you help people, it's very specific as where you fit into their lives, rather than being one of these kind of all-encompassing, we're here for everything, and you'll listen to us for all, for our opinions on all sorts of stuff, then I think you're fine. I think you're fine. It'd be interesting to find out. I'd like to hear. I'm compiling a list of how not to do it. If you crash and burn, I absolutely love to hear about that.
Do better. Send us anything that you think, oh, what are they doing? Send it. Just email us, let us out, or forward us it to the Instagram.
Loads of screenshots of your flash sale now, aren't we? No,
but what I can't wait for, what will be fascinating, is to see comedians. When will this topic be? When will Frankie Boyle be?
It'll be the day. I mean, literally the day after. It'll be the day after the funeral. I mean, on our protocols, we're like, day after the funeral, all marketing activity back to normal.
And how will, because I don't think Britain will be. This is the one joke that I don't think comedians can make for a good long time.
Oh no, I think it'll happen very quickly.
I think it will in clubs. I don't think it will on television.
Oh no, not on television. Oh yeah, not on television, possibly. I think
because the mayor. Just think of how much. This is the type of thing the mayor would absolutely go all out for. Like, disrespecting the Queen. There can't be. If people thought they went big on Diana, wait until someone starts making jokes about the Queen.
The Daily Express is literally must have a whole team waiting for someone to do it. I did see a joke.
They've probably got the copy. They just need the name of the person to write in, then publish it.
I did see a joke yesterday on Twitter that someone made, and it was more related. The target of the joke wasn't the Queen. The target of the joke was Liz Truss, about meeting Liz Truss and and passing.
Oh, then 2 days later,
yeah, exactly. And someone posted, "Now is not the time," and then the person who wrote the joke said, "This literally is the only time you can tell this joke. This joke would not make any sense if it wasn't at this time." And it's like, you made a really good point there, that it is and the Queen wasn't the subject of it. It did still feel slightly distasteful, and I kind of quite. But that's the trouble.
But you can't make jokes. You can't make jokes on something like Twitter, including a subject, without expecting people to not realise that it's not about the subject.
Oh God, that happens I mean, that's life, isn't it? Like, all we do is we're looking for a word in the joke without actually understanding, who is the butt of the joke here.
Yeah, completely. But well, So, do-bads, what are we going to continue as a normal
No,
episode?
I don't know.
I don't know. We haven't discussed this, have we?
No, we haven't discussed this at all. We started off in this like muted tone, and I feel like we now have to carry on in a kind of Greg James style throughout. Because when is this going to come out? This is going to come out before the funeral, isn't it? The funeral is possibly tomorrow.
Yes.
Tomorrow,
I mean,
or Sunday.
I think we'll probably move this up an episode because we've already recorded. We've got an extra one in the bag of bad stuff, I believe. Or do we?
No,
Maybe
I don't.
not.
I think we've got one today, and then this one will be next week, won't it?
Maybe.
Regardless,
yes.
We don't know.
Yes.
It might be before the funeral, might be after the funeral, but I don't.
Okay, well, this is something.
What's the podcast protocol?
This is a segue where, given that we're questioning what is right and what's wrong, how do we feel? And it's going to be a mixed emotion show. So here is another thing that's posted in the group by Brian Lewis, who said, "Own up, who was it? Adding rum to the Gatorade at the Mexico City Marathon."
Oh my God, I saw that. I mean, like, it was someone that was hammered. It wasn't like even premeditated. It was someone who just had some pisshead who had some rum and just thought, I know what I'll do. No one will say no to a little extra rum in these drinks.
Well, I mean, how do we feel about this?
Well,
is this funny or not? Is this?
It depends what stage, at what point of the marathon was it?
You see, I genuinely think it's utterly brilliant, and I know I'm going to come in for criticism for it.
You are
potentially.
You're going to be banned. Go on.
But I've not actually watched the video yet, and there's people who are saying, "Oh, it's dangerous. Oh, this is," but it's not really that dangerous, is it? And sure, there might be like a 1 in 1,000 chance that someone blah, 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 blah. But
I mean, to be fair, you're running a marathon. There's a lot more risk of things happening to you running the marathon than there is from having a sip of a little bit of alcohol in watered down by some Gatorade. Isn't there? Like, there's multiple greater risks of what you could do.
And it's not as if there's loads in each one. I mean, no one's going to be hammered from this. He's just flinging it around. And could you imagine that at a stand coming in, how much you'd love it? Like, how much we'd love it. Not everyone, but how much we'd love it.
I think that's it, isn't it? I think... There's two types of people, isn't there? There's people who, if they accidentally sip alcohol, are like, oh! And then there's people who accidentally sip alcohol, are like, yes! I think we very much fall in that category.
And the fact that you're right, it's just someone who's pissed walking home. But how weird can we say this is? That they've laid out overnight all of the cups with the drink in advance.
I mean, that is the dangerous element there, isn't it? That is a dangerous element. Like, it's like all sorts of things could end up in that.
Is this normal practice? And it could be that this is at 5 a.m. and that the gentleman's coming back from a proper. I'm watching it again. I just find it funny. And I'd sure if someone's an alcoholic, that could be really bad, I'd imagine. But otherwise...
we hadn't thought of that. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, that's a really good point.
I don't know how that would happen, but I don't think this person's put a lot of premeditation into this. And comes down to, it's the organiser's fault, surely.
Yeah, that is definitely the organiser's fault. You expect your bags to be looked after. You expect there to be enough water and anything else on the course, and you certainly expect that when you go to drink the water or get to drink the thing, it is actually the thing that you're drinking. And if it's not, that's not anyone else's fault apart from. I mean, if it's so easy for him to do, that's the worrying thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And people apparently it's been overwhelmingly condemned, which I'd imagine that's not true. I'd imagine the people that think it's hilarious probably just haven't. And probably aren't in the running community. But also that saying things like, that alcohol is highly dehydrating. Like, it's really not, is it? Like a third of a shot of alcohol is not at all dehydrating. It's only dehydrating after a certain amount. And it's such a small amount. It's, so... And given that, actually, if the feedback to this is so bad, what about London City Hash? Is that bad that they're giving out beer on the route when it's not fully explained which beer it is, what the ingredients are, the strength of the alcohol isn't explained. Someone might pick it up thinking it's something else.
Yeah, well, it's City Hash, isn't it? Being given a drink and not knowing what's in it is pretty normal for them, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
Topical.
Yeah,
allegedly.
Absolutely.
It's not even alleged, is it?
So, yeah, well, yeah. No, nothing like that's happened to City Hash. More, other inappropriate things. But we won't delve into that. But because we're thinking of for Caffeine Bullet doing a pop-up stand during the London Marathon at just some point where people are hitting the wall, just to help people out. Because
mile 5.
You're going to need it, buddy. Trust me. You're going to take this. No, you're fine. No, you, buddy. You.
Yeah. No, that's good. Can you just set up at London Marathon? Is it just a case of you can just set up what you want?
No, not at all. But I mean, there's nothing I think illegal about handing out things, is there? Maybe there is.
No, I don't
saying anything.
No,
I'm sure. They'd prefer if you bought to be an official sponsor and blah 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 blah. We can't afford that. So and also
that's why we're not doing it.
And it would just be quite fun, and when it's not like we're forcing it on people. And actually, by the time people have hit the wall, they need help. It's don't try anything new on marathon day unless you're fucked. Then just take anything you can get.
That's a good thing. That's true. That's the only time where it goes out the window, doesn't it? It's just don't try anything new unless you're fucked. And then everything you'll do. Take whatever people are handing to you. Literally, take stuff out. Even if they're not handing to you, just take it out their hands and try it.
Yeah. But the interesting rule that's come in that I thought was also so we've just got an email from Amazon to do with advertising, and I've heard this was happening, but then I've never truly appreciated it. That now they're monitoring all of the salt and sugar content of all things on Amazon, and they're going to be labelled as basically good, bad, or we don't know, and that's going to affect their ability to advertise.
Oh, okay.
Which actually could be incredibly significant because it's quite nuanced. It's very clear cut if you're in the real world. That's an advert. That isn't an advert.
Yeah.
And also where you can promote things in shops. I think they're going to be at some point reducing the buy one get one free offers and the multi-buys and the buy one get half. Those kind of things that encourage mass purchases of unhealthy foods.
Yeah.
Which I think will I'll be interested to see what they do, because in our supermarkets, when I go into a shop, I'll look for the yellow. That's especially now, everything's so expensive. You're like, right, what's the cheapest anything? What's on offer of shaving creams? What's on offer of washing detergents? Because there's always one.
Someone pays like £4 for toothpaste. It's like wherever the toothpaste is, there's £1 that's on offer, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's always the thing that's on offer, or the washing powder or whatever. You're like, there's no way I'm going to pay like the full. I'll just have that one because it's cheaper. Like,
exactly.
We absolutely have to have personal bio. Oh, just make sure. I don't care what it is. It's got to be personal bio because it just it's completely different from everything else. Like, who cares?
Do you sneak out? Are you taking empty bottles of personal bio to the supermarket, like filling them with Ariel because it's on sale, and then coming back and going, "Here you go."
No. Like what I do. So what I've done is I've started buying like the cheapest stuff possible, like the cheapest, the stuff, because all the supermarkets have come out with their own like super value brand now, don't they? But they call it something else. I think like in Sainsbury's they call it Hubbards or something, and you're like,
isn't it called something like Your Scum? Don't they really want to embarrass you out of buying it? Yeah.
Yes.
Like look at the Provo, I think is the Tesco's range. They really want to shame you out of buying it.
But it's like that. So I kind of buy all the cheap, but then like things like the cat has to have a specific type of food and a specific type of. It's like, and that is never ever on offer. Like cat food is never on offer.
Yeah. Oh, is that right?
Well, not in Sainsbury's, it's not. But it's just like, and even if it was, it wouldn't matter because we wouldn't be able, we don't have the discretion to be able to choose because she only eats Sheba in poultry and gravy. No, not in jelly, in gravy. Oh, she couldn't possibly have anything else. And then she has to have this bifensis dry food, and it has to be chicken as well. It has to be chicken as well. She couldn't have salmon because she's a cat who can eat fucking anything she wants and does. But yeah, she's got to have these two specific things which are really expensive.
She'll eat her own shit, but she won't eat.
Yeah, exactly. I will not eat whiskers. That was like my shit. I will. It's true. That's just I think it works in some situations, doesn't it? Like. But I think that's shit, actually. Like, who is that harming? Like, I don't think anyone really knows. I don't think anyone is really, really... I don't think anyone goes, if I buy this giant packet of crisps, this is going to be unhealthy. I don't think anyone goes, this could be quite healthy for me.
No, but I do think there's... I mean, that episode with our astrophysicist was fascinating. And I do think there's an element of if the size of a bag determines how much people eat. For sure. Those grab bags that you get.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Big. And having the more, I do think as well, for people who've got self-control, it's not that much of an issue. But still is a little bit. For people that do struggle with trying to eat healthily, having more unhealthy food in the house means you're going to eat more unhealthy food. And having these offers that encourage you to, instead of getting the amount that you'd normally get, getting double or stocking up because it's cheap and you're like, well, I get them all. We all know what happens. If you see something on offer and you get 3 of them instead of the 1, it doesn't last 3 times as long.
It does.
It's done. It's done after one night of drinking. Does it?
In my household, it does, because this is what I do. Because Libby does, like, the kids eat load of crisps and Libby drinks loads of soda water. And if I buy 4 bottles of soda water, and she'll drink all that in the same amount of time. So it doesn't matter how many I buy, and that's exactly what happens. So what I do is I take half of all of that and I hide it. And so when Libby goes to me, oh, we need some more crisps and we need some more soda water, when she's not looking, I just take it out of the cupboard I've hidden it in and just put it like on the side and stuff, so it's there. So
you're acting like you're doing twice the work. So she's like, "Oh, thanks, Jody."
Well, she's never thankful, but yeah, exactly. That's it. So I think that's the key to do it. You get these double, what's it called? You get the offers, but then you hide them from everyone. So that they don't
like a time block.
Well, because that's the problem.
That's the problem, in your house.
Because you're absolutely right. If you have a big bag of crisps in the drawer, don't you? Like with all the crisps there and all the cookies there and stuff like that, then the kids are just going to get them as many times. Oh, look, we got loads of crisps. I'll have 3 when they would have only had 1, or they'll make things last a bit longer. So if you make it kind of look a little bit sparse in the first place, like there's only a few left, and they've got to be, a little bit thing. It works. I mean, it works. It absolutely works. You can draw it out. You can draw it out longer. Libby drinks so much did I tell you this? Libby drinks so much soda water that she got a note from Sainsbury's telling her, that big Sainsbury's in Haywards Heath, telling her that she was the second biggest purchaser of soda water in the fucking town.
Who's number 1?
No, I don't know. I'm like, who possibly could be drinking? And it would have been more if they hadn't always kept selling out. And that was the thing. And so I bought her.
Why soda water?
Oh, I don't
Isn't that bad for your teeth?
I don't know. in order to save us money on this, because it's like 40, 50p for a bloody water. You're buying water. No, it's 70p now. So I bought her a Soda Stream for Christmas.
Oh, that's not cheaper.
Well, no, well, it's not. But I thought long term, actually, it will. Well, the amount of soda water she buys, it would have been much, much cheaper.
I don't think it is. I think the amount of gas is, if you look at the price of soda water for like 4 litres, and you look at how often you have to change a canister,
it was.
Soda Stream, I think, is more expensive.
It would have. The thing is, that was irrelevant. She didn't like the taste of it. Didn't like the taste of Soda Stream. Like, it's fucking gas in water. Like, how is it different? So that was a waste of time. So yeah, I think, and that soda water's never on offer, is it?
Have
Soda
you had
water's
fizzy
never...
coffee yet?
No, I haven't.
Come on, what have you done? What have you done with the Soda Stream?
The Soda Stream's been sold. Soda Stream has good residual value, so that got sold. So that was
so
fine.
You haven't gassed up flat beer, anything like that. You've not done like fizzy smoothies, fizzy orange juice, none of those things.
I hate stuff being fizzy. I hate it.
Okay.
I don't like it at all. But yeah, that's the only way to do it.
Do you think that's out of resentment of having to buy Soda Stream, soda water so much? You've subconsciously, this is your rebellion against.
Yeah, exactly. Bubble. It's a war on bubbles. A war on
bubbles from Big Brother. You hate that.
No, yeah, but I think it's what you need is like deals work when you're not the one that's going to be consuming what's in that deal. That's the thing. So if it's like a deal for crisps or a deal for that, and you're not the one that eats the crisps or tampons. That's what with the tampons. The start going, they're on offer. They're not tampons. Oh, they're not. They were on offer though. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine.
We'll get through them. Because that's the thing with advertising outside and not advertising in shops, and I don't know the exact rules yet. It would be interesting to fully understand them. When it comes to online, things are very different, and then suddenly our company's not allowed to market at all. And because, for example, we're high sugar by the classification, because it's carbohydrates, gels are high sugar. A gel company's, is it going to impact them? And actually, you can't take more than 2, 3, 4 caffeine bullets in a day without it being ridiculous and actually against government guidelines anyway. But we're now being put in with that confectionery element.
Oh, really?
And so, yeah. Just because it's purely done on the percentage of sugar. So, strangely, Tic Tacs are sugar-free because even though they're all sugar, the quantity of sugar is sufficiently low that under the classifications of sugar-free, if you have less than a certain amount, you can have a little bit of sugar in your food. And so it's not as a percentage, weirdly. So Tic Tacs are 100% sugar-free, 100% sugar.
Do you know what this is?
An oddity.
This is Lucozaide's fault, isn't it? Because Lucozade, with Lucozade Sport and everything, they started marketing that as a normal drink for like kids to have and for parents to put in lunch boxes and
everyday energy.
Everyday energy. That it's completely their fault because the way that it was marketed, because there was always a separation between sports drinks and energy drinks and that, and they've kind of blurred that, and then they found this.
In America, Gatorade is probably the same. Gatorade's exactly. Massively drunk,
and that's why. And so that now you have this situation where things which are clearly sports related and made for people in that way are going to be classified as that. But then you go into the supermarket and Lucozade is it's not specified as a sports drink. It's next to Coke. It's next to juices and stuff like that. It's marketed as a normal drink to have. And it shouldn't. It should come with a health warning. It should come with a warning to people on there that this is for if you're actively doing sport over a certain time because of the sugar content and the way it is.
Yeah, and actually it's not, because no one would use a fizzy drink when they're doing exercise, would they? It doesn't make any sense. And a lot of Lucozade is. But what could be an impact on nutrition? So firstly, we're not clear how it's going to affect things like keywords. So if someone's searching for your product, you can advertise against Caffeine Bullet, for example, but we don't know if someone's searching for caffeine chews, can we advertise given that we fall in this category, even though we're exactly what they're looking for? And then how do you distinguish it? Can we start advertising Caffeine Bullet against things that aren't connected to the brand? Like, when is it not connected?
Oh, so
and
you
when
can do a
is
Lucas Aid as well.
Well, that's the thing. That's what we're not.
Kids
We're not.
sweets, kids
Yeah.
confectionery. Like, how stupid! Like,
But that's what we're not clear on. And they've also got. So it's not clear online how that's going to be advertised. But also, as part of the rules, it looks like, and I've just been kind of skim reading them, they've got this calculation where you look at the number of grams that are. So you've got score A, and score A is number of grams that are points for energy, points for saturated fats, points for sugars, and points for sodium. And you've got your score C, which is points for percentage of fruit, veg, and nut content, points for dietary fiber, and points for protein. And so your overall score is your score A minus score C. And foods that score 4 or more points and drinks that score 1 or more points, once you've done your A minus your C, is then classified as less healthy. Now, I've not looked into if there's got to be more nuance than that, because at the moment you could have a 54 grams of banana that's mixed with 46 grams of salt. And so you've got almost 50% salt. In fact, and then you could do 52 and 48. And by their scale, that would be healthy. And you could have similarly with fat. You could, because fat, salt and sugar, saturated fats, they're not great for you. But actually, they're all very different in what they provide. And so depending on, actually it starts with points for energy plus points for saturated fat, points for sugars, points for sodium. So it's really, it's fairly complex, but will we now see a move forced by advertising where actually the gels are having to all become fruit-based? And does fructose count as percentage of fruit? Because fructose is sugar.
Yeah.
And actually it's just as bad for you as having a shitload. Like if you have a load of innocent smoothies, you're getting loads of sugar in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure,
the only reason fructose is okay is because it's normally contained within the package of a fruit, which has all the fiber and everything that allows it to release the fructose release over a slower period of time. But when you extract it, it's as bad as sucrose. It's, there's no.
And so there's all these nuances within it. And I haven't read in enough depth yet to understand how the scoring genuinely works in relation to ingredients. And so you've got healthy, less healthy, lot in scope. But depending on what they decide for the advertising online, it could be that we're suddenly going to see massive reformulations of all of our gels, of all of our energy drinks. And my question is, should we have an asterisk where for sports products that are genuine sports products, not Lucas Aid, should it be different? Should we be allowed to advertise as long as it's in context? Because I think not allowing people to advertise gels is actually could have the reverse effect on society and sports products, because anything that's advertising these products is advertising a healthy lifestyle, is advertising active lifestyle, like a fit lifestyle. And so actually you're removing the advertising that's positive advertising, because while you're doing sport, having sugars is you need for fast available energy. So this is where I'd
So
love
is this
feedback
what
from you to do that.
should we? Do you really mean we should? Is that what you're?
But this is my question to do, as I firmly think we should. It's very it's very hard to then
But then, isn't this?
find the balance.
Doesn't this go back to what you were saying about the fact that people don't have self-control and they don't, because the thing is, I'm sure I've seen, I mean, in Sainsbury's, for example, there's a whole section on like that they've created, and they've marketed it as healthy living, but it is filled with protein powders, like energy bars and things like that.
Yeah.
And as much as I think that it is there to encourage healthy living, I do also think it's a marketing ploy to get people to think that consuming these things is healthy. And they're energy bars. They're not they're not something that you eat, and there's something that has to be complemented with exercise, and that's the whole point. It's there to support your exercise, but there's no way of knowing that from this section that's dubbed as healthy living or whatever.
Yeah, true, actually, and that's where it's really complex with the nuance, because no one's at home boshing gels all night and being like, oh god, I can't believe I had another night on the Lucozade gels or whatever it may be, the Cliff gels. But then people probably are eating protein bars, thinking I'm such an athlete.
Yeah.
When it's like most people have enough protein in their diet. They don't need the extra carbs and flavorings associated with it. So you're right. How do you, if we do decide we want to promote a healthy living, how do you then stop when Lucozade are advertising by sponsoring the Premier League and it's showing athletes using the product within context, in the right context, but then actually selling it in a completely different way? So this is why it's so tricky to get it right, because at the moment it could be that gels could no longer advertise in the way they could before.
I mean, if
they're still waiting to see the guidance on this.
If the government, if the government and everything was serious about this, you wouldn't necessarily restrict like things like Lucozade and stuff like that, but you would require kind of signage or them to be in a different section or not allowed to be marketed alongside soft drinks. These should have a special category in terms of advertising and marketing, because, like you said, they're high sugar, but they're for a very, very specific purpose and they're very specific need. And so if they have that, yes, that they are able to advertise, but it also means that they have to be marketed in a restricted way, both in retail stores as well. And I think that's
And it will also, what doesn't seem to be covered is artificial sweeteners, and the jury's out to a certain extent on. We know that people who have a lot of artificial sweeteners in their diet do put on weight compared to those who don't. It's shown that having Diet Coke instead of Coke, you don't lose weight. You're as unhealthy, put on weight as much as someone who has the Coke. In the studies they've shown. And so will we then just see a massive shift in everything to these diet products? And then if Coca-Cola only advertise Diet Coke, only advertise Pepsi Max, because you're advertising a product that doesn't break any of these rules, but Pepsi's in there, Coke is in there. And will it just change the way people advertise to just be promoting the product that doesn't break these rules, knowing that the branding is as impactful in the same way cigarette brands, I think Marlboro at one point set up a charity with exactly the same branding guidelines. So it had the same font, it had the same red color as a Marlboro cigarettes, and they sponsored Formula One, so that you still had the impact of, this is Marlboro, and it still worked in the same way. Yeah, unbelievable.
That's brilliant.
And so will then it get to the point that a brand, so then would the government have to respond? Because if I was a brand, that's just what you do immediately, right? And so you just advertise in the same way. You're just not advertising the full fat versions.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
d-
but that's the problem, isn't it? It's like whenever they come up with these like restrictions, they I think
They never
they
think,
just
what
all
will the brands
yeah,
respond to
exactly.
this?
That's it. They're never drafted in the right way. They seem to be drafted in a way that makes it very easy for people to see what the loopholes are, rather than thinking about what's this. And I know it's very difficult to have regulation restrictions based on following the spirit of what is trying to be achieved. But if essentially what you're trying to achieve is you don't want people to drink unhealthy drinks. And so, the definition of unhealthy is pretty much anything produced by Coca-Cola, isn't it? Apart from the water,
Yeah,
possibly. And that's
yeah.
it. But the thing is, we're going to talk about vested interests here and funding by funding politicians and everything else that goes with it, and the drinks industry.
I genuinely think though that
Do you think it's
people,
incompetence rather than creating rules that brands can get around
and
on purpose?
and also I'm not sure you could create rules where, because you either have to come out and say, if you're a brand who has an unhealthy product under a brand name, you cannot advertise at all. That's the only thing you can do. So Coca-Cola could no longer advertise anything as Coca-Cola, advertise the brand name Coca-Cola in any way, because they have an unhealthy product. That would be the only way to get around it. And
but that's the thing, isn't it? Those are all the biggest brands advertising in the UK: McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Burger King, Pepsi. All the biggest. You think about the biggest brands spending the most amount of money. And that's also I don't know whether that's a correlation or causation, but obesity and everything goes up at the same rate as which the spending increases. So the ubiquity
and I think
of their advertising.
But the only genuine solution is no advertising of food and drink at all. That's the only way you could properly do it, because as soon as you allow something, then people will find a way to leverage.
You think it's only vegetables? You're only allowed to advertise vegetables. So Coca-Cola comes out with some broccoli max that somehow beats the rules.
Yeah, that's the thing. And so it's really, really tough. And will this have any impact? I don't know. I think it will for small brands. I think it will punish small brands.
Well, of course it'll punish small brands, isn't it? Because it's always easy for bigger brands to pivot. Very, very good. They have the funds, the availability, the distribution to be able to pivot really quickly. Whereas small brands are like, literally, we've all of our money's gone into this formulation, and we've just got it right, and now we have to change it again, and now we can't even advertise.
And if you and everything's by association. I mean, I personally think the advertising of Parkrun for an energy drink is horrific. I just think it's completely irresponsible. For example,
who is it? Who do they?
It's a weird one, because I know they sponsor the Run Show, so or they have done in the past. I think they'd say they're a healthy version of a sports drink because it's low in fructose. I can't remember.
They don't call themselves do they call themselves a sports drink though?
I mean, maybe not, and maybe it looks like they're not the main. They're not the main sponsor anymore, but I know they've sponsored in the past. But that in itself, you think,
because you don't need a sport. You don't need a sports drink for Parkrun. No matter how long you take running it, you do not need that amount of sugar. I don't see the difference between that and McDonald's sponsoring in any way. I think it's exactly the same. You're advertising something that people don't need, that is not good for their health. And given that, sure, advertise at marathons that you're a product for that, but don't advertise at 5Ks. So yeah, it's big legislation that will take quite a long time to unravel, I'd imagine. But good intentions. Will it achieve anything? Probably not. The big brands
the big brands, which I'd say are actually more likely to be worse for you. And I think we'll see a lot more bars that have got nuts in, like your Eat Natural, that are really unhealthy, loads of saturated fat and sugars, but they've got enough nuts in that they can pretend to be healthy.
I know, it's so ridiculous, isn't it? I see some of that stuff, and I see people like giving it to like kids and things like that, and you're like, the amount of it just looks healthy. Like you've got the word natural on it, or you've got the word, it's just, it's all, it really, I mean, like really is pulling the wool over people's eyes more so than a lot of other things, saying things that are healthy and being in the healthy food sections in a fucking supermarket as well.
Yeah. And that's where it's probably the supermarket rules that are now more important, because that's the point of purchase. That's when people are making their decisions. So yeah, do badders, who's got views on this? Let us know. I'll put a question in the group. I'd imagine not many people will actually be directly affected by it with a deep knowledge, but we'll just see what the feedback is, because it should be impactful. It's something we've been waiting for years. Jamie Oliver was pushing for this 15 years ago. Maybe we'll try and speak to Jamie. But if you're someone who knows an expert,
he's got a new book out, so he might be available.
Boom. I mean, Jamie's certainly too big for us, but maybe there's someone else you can recommend, do badders, who is an expert on this legislation, or who's from an agency or similar, who truly understands how it's already impacting packaging rules, labeling rules, marketing rules, and branding rules, things like that. Because this is something that should change the health of a generation. My fear is it will do nothing. So, well, we were going to do I guess we haven't been too jolly, have we, in this episode?
No, we haven't been too jolly, apart from the, what I like is we've got the juxtaposition of being muted about the Queen, for then celebrating someone adding booze to sports.
I wouldn't say we celebrated. I'd say we recognised the potential humour in it.
To then complaining about dangerous stuff that people are putting in food, drink.
True. Without people knowing, without people being properly aware of.
Exactly. There's a sort of symmetry to it that I think works there.
And actually, I'm going to look, because I need to look into this a bit more for understanding, just for caffeine, but the makeup. But I'll look into the actual calculations of it and what the implications are. And I'll try and think of some examples of foods that would be allowed under this system, just to show how ridiculous it potentially could be. But wow, there we go. Thanks for listening, guys. If you've liked this episode, go and listen to the A to Z of Bad Boy Running. It takes you through all of our history in 3 1.5 hour episour, maybe longer, but it's super funny.
Let's trick we're talking about misleading it. 3 half-hour episodes. It won't take you more than an hour and a half, 4 hours, 8 hours, something like that. If you want to buy BBR merch, head to store.badboyrunning.com. If you want to join the Facebook group and join the conversation, head to Facebook, type in Bad Boy Running Podcast, answer 3 questions, and we'll let you in.
And also, last question, what should I put behind me? I've got this blank wall. I'm trying to set up my little area to record. So what should we put here? What would be a good backdrop for our recordings? So thanks for listening, guys. Any guests, message me, David at Bad Boy Running, letters at Bad Boy Running, or on Instagram, and we will see you next time.
See you later. Bye.
Fuck you, buddy.